There I am. Good. Oh, I'm disappearing again. Good morning, everyone. And I just realized that my off kilter. Ah! We're gonna get it. There we go. Look at that beautiful, calming scene this morning. Just the vibe I wanted. Hear the wind a little bit. We made it. It is the final day in my 30-day Pride Month stream. I have streamed every single day throughout the entire month of June to help raise funds to support the Trevor Project. And today's the last day. So for those of you who don't know about the Trevor Project, their mission is to end suicide among young people in the LGBTQ community. And so many people, them coming out this month, and those who struggle even now, whether that be with their family or local politics, legislature, or maybe this just wasn't the month you were comfortable to come out. That I just want you to know that you are loved and you're beautiful just the way that you are. And if you need someone to talk to, please go to the Trevor Project. You can talk to them on the phone. You can talk to them via chat. You can talk to them text. Whatever is most comfortable for you, and that is at thetrevorproject.org/get-help. You can also join the Trevor Space. This is an affirming online community for LGBTQ young people between the ages of 13 and 24. With over 400,000 members across the globe. You can explore your identity, get advice, find support, and make friends in a moderated community that is intentionally designed just for you. And that is at thetrevorproject.org/visit-trevorspace. And you might see it in chat pop up as well. We did not hit our goal, but that's okay. That's okay. Any amount helps, and I am proud for what we were able to accomplish this month. I'm very proud. And I see Flock in chat. Hello Flock. Good morning. Oh, CJ's in chat too. Hey CJ. Oh. Aww. Good morning. Before we get into the final stream, which is me telling my story, before we get into that, I do want to share a very exciting announcement for the next campaign show that we are going to be streaming starting Monday. And I forgot to put it in the forgot to put it before I hit the start streaming button, so I'm gonna try to do this in studio mode real quick, so hold tight everyone. Hopefully it doesn't mess up. I'm gonna try to do this on the back end real quick. Oh, okay, this is fine. I can do this. This is easy. Easy peasy. Beautiful cover girl. Okay. Just hold tight. I'm very excited about this though. And I finally I'm gonna tease it here first. I know that we plan to share it on social media as well, but I feel like this is such a great announcement to share first here. So second. I'm almost there. I gotta it's navigating files. Navigating files. Oh, let me make sure I picked the right one. The one that says final, really final. That's the correct one. All right, you guys ready? All right, here we go. Right? Is everyone excited? I'm so excited. Excuse me. I'm so sorry. I'm still getting over this freaking cough. But yeah, we are starting Kids on Brooms this Monday. Danny is going to they are going to be our DM. Danny is going to be DMing. You'll see Josh, who was also in. He's been a guest on a couple different things. He's guested on. Oh my gosh! Oh, my brain. Star. Space. Jake. Spelljammer! God, thank you, CJ. Stars. Space. Jake. Somebody in chat. Thank you, CJ. You can tell I'm not a morning person. And The Witch is Dead. I hung out. I got to be a part of that with Josh as well. And then we have guesting Danny from Danny, not Danny that we know, but yeah, Carl. But Danny from the Majestic Goose Network is going to be Maris, and then of course you all know Deanna. And then I will be playing Oculus, which I'm so excited about. And I think did I miss anyone? I think I got everyone. Anna, Danny. Oh, Tess, and Tessa. Tessa will be joining us as well. Tessa's going to be playing a water nymph. So it's going to be all good fun, very exciting, very lighthearted. I'm expecting many an antic. It is going to be a ton of fun. I hope you guys are all excited about that. As we get into today's stream, I've thought a lot about how I would go about this particular stream, because it's not necessarily very lighthearted. And those individuals that I have already told this story, it's rough. And I've thought, like, should I write it all down and then go through it on stream? Which parts should I include? Which parts should I leave out? What's important? Because the point of me telling this story, again, my whole goal is I'm not looking for, sympathy. I'm not looking for people I'm not looking for pity or, all that. I've thought a lot about why I wanted to share my story, and I mentioned this on a previous stream this month. It's that I don't think my story is necessarily unique. Yeah, like there are little bits here and there that might have unique variables, but I think when I say that I don't think it's unique, is that I feel like a lot of people who are in the LGBTQ community have to face and deal with this kind of stuff regularly. And the fact that that makes my story not unique, I think is heartbreaking, because I think that we're all wonderful and beautiful in our own special ways. And like, personally, how we identify sexually, or gender-wise, I feel like is a small part of who we are. Yeah, it makes us unique, but like, we're so much more than like who we're sexually attracted to. Like, for example, for me, I like to make mead. I like to bake with sourdough bread. I love Disney. I love to play video games. I like to play D&D. There's so much more nuance to who we are as people. And it's really sad that the world, and in my case, family members, are so hung up on this one part. I think something that gets me constantly is that being LGBTQIA is reduced to who you are sexually attracted to, when a lot of us are gray, demi, or ace. It's who we spend our lives with, it's who we love, it's who we are, 100%. That's exactly what I'm saying. Like 100%. And kind of like going along that, I think a lot of people who look at Pride Month or what Pride marches and stuff, and there's I don't want to see people waving the flag around, waving in my face, blah blah blah. I don't need to know who you're sexually attracted to. For me, Pride Month is not. For me, Pride Month is the opposite of pride is shame, right? And the point of pride is to be proud of who you are and to not be shameful or to not feel shame, to not be afraid. And for me personally, being proud of who I am is an important aspect because I don't want to be afraid of what people will think of me. And I think it's so powerful if you can be proud of yourself and love yourself. That's so powerful. And it's hard to do. I personally struggle to love myself. One of the things my husband always says to me is, if you could only love yourself just a little bit as much as I do, you'd be set. And it's true. Here comes my son. Morning from Luke. Needs permission to play a game. I got to be a mommy for just a minute here. Daniel's my rock, 100%. Daniel is my rock. I say that a lot, and I think I mean that literally in the sense that, like, Daniel is the rock in the ocean where the waves crash against him and he doesn't budge. Which sounds so cheesy. But, like, everything that is thrown at him, he takes it in stride, and meanwhile, I'm like the plastic bottle in the storm that's being tossed and thrown all around. That was dropped from like a cruise ship in the middle of the, in the middle of the ocean of somebody who was trying to drink water after they got drunk on the top floor. That's me. I feel like that's me. I'm that bottle. That's me. This particular Pride Month is very, very important to me because I came out this year. I didn't come out necessarily this June. I came out to my parents in particularly in March, and before that to my husband. I couldn't even tell you when because it was so. It was so low-key for him that it doesn't really register in my brain when I came out to my husband. He actually, he wasn't surprised at all. And he wasn't surprised at all. I remember him telling me, like, yeah, when you tell our friends, like, I bet you the majority of them aren't going to be surprised at all. And I was just shocked, like, what do you mean? Like, I wasn't like, what, am I giving off some sort of vibe that would say, oh yeah, you definitely are bisexual or whatever. So I thought that was interesting, but it didn't even register. I don't remember when I told Daniel. But I have been this way for quite a long time. I think I think when we all go through kind of like that puberty aspect of our lives back in like late elementary school, I want to say, where like the hormones are just starting to get just starting to rage, and like, you know, it's like you get into middle school. It's like that 5th grade into middle school, I think, is for me personally when the hormones started to activate like a Spider-Man activation. Um Thank you for the $10 donation, Anonymous. Thank you so much. Very much appreciated. I won't tell Daniel. I won't tell, I promise, CJ. But yeah, like a lot of people who don't understand pride or anything, they think that it like they think it's a choice, right? Like, oh, you're choosing to be a lesbian, or you're choosing be gay or whatever. And that's just not how it works. That's just not how it works. I remember watching like animated films and having feelings about characters of the opposite sex, or the same sex, I should say. Um, and I didn't know how to process that. I grew up in a very Bible big Southern Baptist family. And I don't know if anyone has seen the movie, but I'm a Cheerleader. I've just watched it for the first time. And there is a moment in that film where she's sitting in the chair and she goes to the therapy place. I forget what it's called. Doesn't matter. She's sitting there and they're explaining to her like, have you had these thoughts? Have you thought this? Have you thought that? And she's just sitting there with her brow furrowed, so confused, and she's realizing, yes, she's had all of these thoughts, but she thought that that was normal and that everyone felt that way, even though she had this heterosexual relationship with her boyfriend. She had a boyfriend, and I relate to that so much because I would have thoughts about like women or like cartoon characters in my 6th grade middle school youth, thinking that, Hans Christian Andersen's Thumbelina was just a gorgeous individual. And I thought that was just normal. Like, well, that doesn't mean that I'm, I didn't really know I didn't even know what bisexuality was, because I still had feelings for like this, like the opposite sex. I didn't even know what bisexuality was when I was like in middle school, because like I said, I was in a Southern Baptist household. We didn't talk about that kind of stuff. That kind of stuff was put in a padlocked box, and that was not explained at all. The only thing that was thrown at me was, Bible verses that thou shalt not do this. Yeah, I was in the 8th grade, and my best friend said she liked our other friend, and I set them up, but in the process realized I was also into both sexes. I think, especially since like we're like 90s babies, and it really depends on like the kind of parents that you had. Like, I feel like we all I mean, like, as millennials, we have a lot to process just with all the worldwide chaotic events that have occurred during our lifetime. But for me personally, yeah, like, all I did was put that in a box and never acknowledged any of it, and I didn't want to think about it. And I just focused on being what my parents wanted me to be. Like, I wanted to be that perfect individual for my parents. I wanted to be that straight A student. I wanted to be what they wanted me to be. I wanted, like, my dad's really into politics, and I wanted to agree with everything that he believed in because I wanted his acceptance so bad. And I think a lot of that played into not discovering my sexuality until later in life. because I just didn't want to think about it. I mentally blocked that out. I put it in a box, and all I did was like, I'm just going to focus on school. I'm just going to focus on being what my parents want me to be. And I didn't really discover who I was as a person because I'd never really focused on me. Because again, this goes back to like, I didn't really care about me. I only cared about what my parents wanted me to be, like perceived me to be. Like I wanted to be this perfect daughter, perfect individual. And I grew up in a household. My father drank a lot. I'm very convinced that my parents, with the way that they argued growing up, they weren't meant to be. Honestly, I think they should have just got a divorce and married someone else. I mean, I can easily say that. I don't know about individuals who have separated parents where one parent married someone else and the other parent married someone else, but like, I don't know, like my parents, just the relationship I saw as I grew up, a big part of me is just like, man, you guys are miserable. Just go be with somebody else and to make you happy. And honestly, like I said, I don't know. I could never know what that was like to have separated parents growing up. I don't know if it's a better situation or a worse situation. But looking back at it as an adult, like I want to say they should have just been with other people, just split up and been with other people. But March of this year, after my birthday, because my birthday is the day after St. Patrick's Day, I had invited my parents up or down, because we live in Florida. And it was a really big moment because I hadn't been talking to my father in particular, and I hadn't talked to my mom in a while, and I had just recently started to talk to my mom again. My parents can be very toxic, so I don't want to get into too much of that story, but just there was just a lot of toxic nature and gaslighting, and I wanted to be a part of my mom's life specifically, but I didn't want to be treated the way that they had been treating me in the past, and things were going great. My mom had come up, I think, the weekend previously, and we had talked through, and things were going really, really well. And my mom, the last weekend in March, my mom had asked if she could come up to visit, and I was like, "Yeah, that's fine, that's fine." And she said, "Can Dad come?" And it took me a second, but I was, because I knew what this meant. This meant that my dad would be staying in our house, and I was like, "Yeah, that's fine." I made the decision. I said, "Okay, that's fine." So they came up, or came down, whatever, and we talked through it. We had a wonderful time. Felt like we were healing a lot, and again, just having a relationship with my parents has been really difficult because we differ so vastly on a variety of different topics, and again, it's just that in itself is a long story. But it was not a strong relationship. It had been really rough. But we decided to go to Disney Springs, and Luke, of course, my son, and we went and we ate at like the T-Rex restaurant, and we walked around Disney Springs, and it was a wonderful time. We laughed. We were connecting again, and it really was. It was a wonderful time. And I think the next afternoon, they were staying for, I think, 4 days. That next afternoon, after, like, we came home, and that it was probably like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. We was like, hey, there's a brewery that's down the road. Do you want to go? I think you'll really like it. And they agreed, and we went to the local brewery just to kind of sit down and have a couple drinks. It was probably a little later than 4. I feel like it was probably like more like 6. It was much later. And anyways, and we were sitting there and we were drinking, and I can't remember how it came into conversation, but homosexuality came into conversation. And I want to preface this. For my birthday, I had told 2 of my very, very, very close friends who came up to go to Disney World for my birthday with me and Daniel and my son. I had told them, that I was bisexual, and Raina, love her to death, she bought me a Mickey Mouse pin with the bisexual flag on it, and she was just so loving and wonderful, and she is so loving and wonderful. And I've had that pin on my backpack, and for my parents' trip for this particular instance, I had taken the pin off my purse backpack and I stuck it inside. No, I left it on. I had left it on the entire trip to see if they would notice that. I don't even know if they know what the flag, like what the various flags mean, But I left it on. And we were sitting there, and I can't remember how it came into conversation, but pride and homosexuality and just that entire topic came up. My dad started to... I don't remember my mom saying much for the conversation, but my dad, started up the conversation about how it's a choice, and all these various things. And so I tested the water with him. And I was like, well, what if my brother was gay? Would you still love him? And my dad was like, oh, yeah, I'd still love him, but I'm not going to accept his lifestyle, And that came into conversation. I was like, well, you can't have both. Like, you can't love someone and not accept them. And again, we just got in this really big conversation about how he believed that you could love someone and not accept them. And I was like, I don't know if you understand what love is then, because that's not what love is. And he just he wouldn't let it go. So we carried on in this conversation about it, and I remember getting to a point in my head where I was like, I'm just gonna tell him right here. Like, I didn't go into that brewery with the goal to tell my parents. And I don't know if it was just like, I just want to rip off this Band-Aid and just get it over with. Because I remember when I told my friends, I was like, I'm never going to tell my parents. Oh my God, are you kidding me? Never. But there was something in me where I really just wanted to tell him right then and there. And I think it came after my dad said, well, it's really, the parents' fault. The reason why kids are that way is because the parents weren't raising them right. And he like like they didn't grow up in a good household. And I just, in my brain, I kind of laughed at that because it felt like it was about to be a somewhat ironic situation with my dad. Because I didn't grow up in a great household, but I would never. There's no way. It's that me growing up in the household that I did has nothing to do with that. But he also believes that the environment that we grew up in was just perfect and wonderful. Okay, I was just my son is singing in the other room, and I wasn't sure if it was picking up on the mic. Yeah, it's not okay. So I sat there, and I pointed at the pin, and I go, "Dad, do you know what this means?" And he goes, "Nope." And Mom goes, "Does it have something to do with sexuality?" And I go, "Dad, I'm bisexual." I told both of them. I didn't really say dad, but I said, I'm bisexual. And the first thing my dad said to me was, well, if you want to choose to be that way. And the first thing my mother said to me was, if you were blue, green, purple, I don't care, Lauren. I'll always love you. And two vastly different perspectives. And I told my dad, like, well, no, Dad, it's not a choice. I've always been this way. And they got into like, well, you've never even been with a woman. And I go, I don't have to be with a woman to know that I'm attracted to them, Dad. And he got almost like frustrated, irritated. And brought up these stories about how like he was trying to prove me wrong. Like, no, you're not, and this is why, Lauren. Like, it's like I didn't know myself. Like, he knew me better, right? Which was so insulting. And my mom didn't say much outside of that one thing, and I feel like that hit so hard with me that she responded that way, and I love her for that. Because I do believe that my mother is hardly and hugely influenced by my father, and that there are the very few moments where I'm able to get her opinion, or actual genuine opinion. The only time is when he's not around, because sometimes he'll just berate her for her opinion, and she'll just get meek, and she'll just change her opinion to appease him, to fit whatever it is, to avoid the conflict, right? And so I love my mother profoundly when she's not around my father, because she's a different person. And we left the brewery and came back and hung up some stuff on the walls, and I thought that was it. That was I mean, he was a little irritated about it, and but I thought everything was fine. Like, I was like, all right, well, we're gonna get through this. And I thought it went a lot better than what I thought it was gonna be. I'll tell you that. I thought it was gonna be a lot worse, and I wasn't expecting that kind of response from my mom. I honestly wasn't expecting her to say much with my dad there. But I appreciate the response that she did give me. And they went back to Alabama, and I thought things were good. About 3 days later, I want to say. About 3 days later, I get a text message from my father. And it is a whopper. It is... It's funny to me because the 28th of March, he messages me and he says, "Tell Daniel thank you for taking Mom and me to the museum and to lunch. That was generous and thoughtful. I would text him myself, but I don't have his phone number," and blah, blah, blah. Because we went to this museum in St. Augustine, and you know, we went to this burger place for lunch, and that text message kind of irritated me because my dad is very sexist, and he acknowledges things from Daniel, but like, because it was both of us. It was Daniel and me, not just Daniel that took my parents to the museum, right? So it's just like it's a small thing, but my dad is very much like that. We're like, thank Daniel. Can you ask Daniel? Like Daniel's the head, like the very strict head of the household, like the man runs the house kind of situation, and and that's just the way my dad views things, which is, it's irritating on my part, right? That he thinks, it's kind of sad though, especially for my mom, like he thinks that Daniel runs the household. He thinks that Daniel makes all the decisions, that we don't make decisions together, which just a very sexist viewpoint, and that's just not how our marriage works. But I get that very thankful message on the 28th, and on the 29th, at 5:47 a.m., I get another text message. And it is a whopper. It is one of those fever texts in the middle of the morning, which I'm fairly certain he had been drinking. I mean, nobody sends a text message at almost 6 o'clock in the morning. Not one like this, at least. And he tells me that, you know, he had been thinking a lot about me coming out as a bisexual. And he tells me that he's sorry that I made the decision to be that way. I don't understand. Now, this is the interesting part about my dad. He doesn't believe in bisexuality. He doesn't think that doesn't exist. He's like, if you're attracted to the same sex, you're lesbian or you're gay. So he tells me, you don't know this and you don't understand this, but you're a lesbian. And a lesbian is a woman who sleeps with a woman. Like I'm 5 years old. And he says, you just happen to be a lesbian that sleeps with a man. That's just so weird. That was so irritating to me just right off the bat, because I love Daniel. And one of the things about my dad is he likes to tell me what I think, what I feel. And he goes into this is the hardest part of this story, because this is the most visceral part. He goes into telling me that Daniel and I, we align ourselves with evil people and evil movements, and he, and I swear to God, I swear to you, he relates this particular situation with me being bisexual to the shooting in Nashville. The shooting in Nashville. And the adults in the Christian school, and that I should wake up. But he's doubtful that I will. He berates my husband and tells me that he's just such a horrible leader and should be ashamed of himself. Like Daniel has allowed me to, I don't know what veer off the path, or like I've run amok like a woman who reads too much back in the days when women were, you know, not supposed to read, and or like it was frowned upon the Jane Austen days, you know, like if you had to hide under like a pen name in order to write a book, like stay in my place, I guess. The interesting part is Like, I would consider myself a liberal Christian because I do believe in God. I do love God. I believe 100% that God loves me just the way that I am. And I think that a good chunk of people don't think that those two can mix, but I 100%, like, I don't believe God is petty. I don't think God's petty about that. And, he tells me that we're hypocrites because we pray over our meals at dinner time together as a family. And that we think we're so righteous. I hadn't told Daniel's parents, and I still haven't told Daniel's parents yet, for this particular reason, because I was so, like, the PTSD I have with this message that my father, that I'm going through with you, that he sent me, and everything that he had said had scarred me and had torn me open in such a way that, like, I am gonna tell Daniel's parents at some point, but, like, in my own time, because I'm still healing from telling my own parents. But I had told my dad that at the brewery, that I had not told Daniel's parents yet, so I wanted to tell them first, because my parents made such a huge deal out of me not telling them when I was pregnant first, and this is such a big visceral moment, part of my life, that I wanted to tell them first. And I made that decision in the moment. And he then goes on to tell me, like, I understand why you're not going to tell Daniel's parents, but you have no problem telling me and your mother. Just, like, turning it around, like it didn't mean anything. Like, oh, because you're not going to tell you're just going to tell us because you just don't care or something. And he's like, you want to be bisexual, lesbian, whatever? Then be it. It's your choice. You weren't born that way. And then he blames Daniel. Like, Daniel's the one who's leading this social justice religion and has endorsed me. And that, almost like it's Daniel's fault that I'm this way. That it's Daniel's fault because he's endorsing me. That his leadership and him being my husband is not steering me the way that I need to go, that I should go in. And he ends this berating set of messages with, family is important. And he says, I can't do this. I can't do this type of family with you being a lesbian, as he says it. He says, without a shadow of a doubt, it is a sin and will destroy your soul in the end. And he says, but I'll always love you, but I can't support it. He says, I'm going to block you. I'm sorry that I have to do that. But nothing good is going to come from you, your husband. I'm also going to block mom's phone temporarily. She can have a relationship with you if you want it. And that is what my father told me when I came out. And I remember I had just dropped Luke off at school, and I remember sitting in, like, the drive-thru to grab some lunch from, like, a McDonald's, or breakfast from, like, a McDonald's, and I remember reading that, and then pulling into the parking lot across the street and just crying in the car. And I hated that I was crying because I felt like he didn't deserve that kind of emotion from me. But I remember sitting in the car and just crying because it was so cruel. It's not that I believed that anything he said was true, but the fact that it was coming from my father, it was so cruel that and I wasn't expecting it because things went so great. And I was like, okay, well, he wasn't, like, affirming of of anything, but at least, it could have gone worse. I was very positive, and I feel like I'm a fairly positive person. I can be pretty cynical sometimes, but I felt fairly positive after that. I thought it went a lot better. And it was such a gut punch because nothing that he had said would have indicated he would have gone on a tirade. And it was rough. Like, the entire process and how my family had responded, I wasn't expecting the kind of emotion that I had felt in that moment. I wasn't expecting... And it was different. It was different from any kind of emotion I've ever felt in my life. I couldn't possibly describe it to you. It was so confusing and overwhelming, and in a way, it kind of felt like a parent had died, or like someone had died. So I had now started this grieving process because I knew in that moment I was never going to talk to my father again. Never. I was never, ever going to talk to him ever again. I didn't want him a part of my son's life. I didn't want him a part of my life. And I think that's a positive aspect, but like a positive aspect in the sense that like I was making a very firm stance for to be good to myself, to treat, because I deserved better, because I'm a good person and I don't deserve to be treated that way. But it still hurt regardless, because I am very sensitive, and I do care what people think about me, even if those people are crappy, like my parents, or my father, I should say, because my mother, I love my mother. And I actually put together like a really, really long voice recording for my mom, because Daniel, I told Daniel about it. He, God help him, God love him, was like, I gotta drive down there. I gotta drive down there and I gotta talk to them face on. And he drove almost 10 hours. It was gonna fly, but a whole bunch of craziness, like his flight got pushed to April, and like late April or late June or something, and like, so then he got in the car and he drove all the way to Huntsville, and on the way, like, his car got hit by a refrigerator and totaled the car. So then he got like a rental car and drove the rest of the way, and then he finally took this recording that I had made for my mother, and he decided that he wasn't going to speak to my dad, that it was only important for him to speak to my mom, for reasons I don't think I'm going to get into. Because I wanted my mom to be a part. I still want my mom to be a part of my life, my son's life. And, that was one of the big reasons why I wanted to send this to her. But the caveat is, my dad can't. My dad isn't going to be. And she needed to understand what that meant. You can read into context clues with that. Because I personally think that my mother should leave my father and just come live with me and let me take care of her, because I will treat her a lot better than he treats her. And so Daniel came back. He had given her the recording, and she sat with it for a couple days, and I had already blocked my dad on the phone, and my mom started texting me, and I could easily see that my father was speaking through her texts. And I was told I was going to hell. And somebody has to tell me that, because no one else is leading me in a good direction, and it just wasn't my mom. And that's kind of where it comes from, and where I mentioned before, is that my mom just isn't my mom when she's around my dad. Like, she's a completely different person. And she just hands over her phone. I knew she handed over her phone and just let him speak through it. Or even so, like, I've seen her do it before, where, like, he will tell her what to text when she's talking to a friend or something. And I just knew that everything that was coming through wasn't from my mom. So I told her I loved her. Told her to remember the recording I sent. Want her to be a part of my life. And then I blocked her. And the only way that she can reach me is through Daniel, because I wasn't going to be manipulated anymore. I didn't want to hear my father's voice through my mother. That is my story. And I tell this story, again, I don't want people to feel sorry for me. I tell this story because it is so important to support programs like the Trevor Project. Because I ended up telling my friend, I was messed up. I was so upset. I was crying. I was broken for a good long bit. And I told my friends, and I had such a strong support system of friends and, like, my husband, and I was so blessed to have them all be there for me. And I tell this story because not everybody has that. The worst case scenario is having no friends you can confide in that will love you regardless, not having a significant other who loves you and accepts you for the way that you are, not having parents that love and accept you the way that you are. Worst case scenario is being completely and utterly alone and feeling so broken and so just unloved and isolated. And I tell this story because programs like the Trevor Project save lives. If I didn't have that strong support system, I have no idea what I would have done. But I know I can tell you one thing, it wouldn't have been good. And so many people are coming out across the globe. So many people are telling their parents. Not everybody has that strong support system. And the Trevor Project is there to ensure that those individuals know that they are loved. To know that there's nothing wrong with them. There's nothing wrong with me. There's nothing wrong with you. If you identify a certain way that doesn't set standard to the norm, there's nothing wrong with you. You are beautiful. You are wonderful. God made you perfect and special just the way that you are. And you know what? If you don't hear it, if I'm the first Christian to tell you that, God loves you, and He is not a petty God. He loves you just the way that you are. I know it's mind-blowing that a Christian, I would consider myself a liberal Christian. Hearing that is probably just crazy. But it's true. I don't believe God is petty. I don't think there's so many other things that are more important. And yeah, I think that pretty much sums it up. Woo! What a journey. Well, that is my story. And if anyone would like to make any last-minute donations before we end the stream, because it is 10:05, you can scan the QR code on screen, or you can use Command Donate. This entire month has been a wonderful experience just hanging out with everyone in the morning, and on the weekends. And like I said, this particular Pride Month was very important to me. And I knew right off the bat that I wanted to do something for Pride Month. Something what I consider pretty big. And I am so glad that I did. Today was the hardest day. Sharing my story was the hardest thing to do that I've ever done. I was actually, a big part of me was dreading today because I was so scared to share it, because it's not a happy story. It's rough. Like my own father compared me to individuals who shot up a Christian school. Like that's some fucked up shit. I'm just gonna say it. That is fucked up. But I kind of feel like a weight has been lifted off of me. And it was kind of therapeutic. But I do want to make it clear that, like, the point of me sharing that story is for awareness, not just... It's for awareness for other individuals out there who don't have a great support system, who are being told... who aren't being treated well by their parents or by friends or family, whatever, what have you. And they deserve that support. And if this is the best way that we as individuals can reach out to help people that we don't know in those situations, I say let's go full force. But thank you so much for joining me on this journey. Thank you so much for listening. You are all beautiful, wonderful, just the way God made you. Nothing is wrong with you. Be proud. Let yourself be happy. And I can't wait to hang out with you all again. All right. This is I'm kind of sad that it's coming to an end, but yeah, this is the end. This is the end of our Pride Month stream. I hope you guys will join us for Monday. We're doing Kids on Brooms. Danny, Josh, Tessa, myself, Deanna. I hope I didn't leave out anyone. Danny, 2 Dannys in that show. We are going to be streaming Monday at 8 Central Time. That will be the first stream. I think we also have our Session 0. I'm going to be streaming the Session 0 that we had pre-recorded. I want to say Sunday? I want to say it's going to be Sunday. That will be shared as well. So very exciting. You can kind of see how we built this world together, which is going to be a lot of fun to kind of share the madness of our brains. But that's going to be shared, I'm fairly certain Sunday. I just don't know. I can't remember what time. It's probably going to be around 8 Central Time as well. We're going to share that. And I hope you guys are really excited. Thank you so much again. I love you. I love you guys too. Love you, flock. And yes, my father is a damn trip. 100%. 100%. I appreciate that. You will be missed in the mornings. I appreciate that. I'm gonna miss hanging out with you in the mornings too, man. It was really nice. It was really nice chilling, hanging out, talking. It is also Friday. Happy Friday. And then we have the 4th of July coming up, and I know a lot of people get the 4th of July off. Even if you're not super patriotic or anything, you get the 4th off. So I hope you have a wonderful long weekend. Hanging out, maybe shooting off some fireworks. Drink responsibly. Drink responsibly. But wonderful July weekend to all of you. Happy Pride Month. Happy last Pride. We're on the road right now. Don't get in an accident, flock. Don't get in an accident. Love you all. It has been a pleasure. and I will see you all very soon. Bye, guys.